Welcome into a special edition of the KSL Sports Front Page, a Sunday edition. Happy Sunday to everyone out there. But we had to jump on because some big news happened today. We had Taysom Hill ended up getting his first start in the NFL at quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. And to join me to talk about Taysom Hill's first start is Cougar Sports Saturday co-host Matt Baiamonte. How's it going today, Matt? I know you were excited about this game, all week leading up to it. Did it live up to your expectations?
I threw on my Taysom Hill T-shirt today, and I think that it met my expectations. I really wanted him to play a turnover-free game, which didn't happen, but the turnover didn't prove to be a big deal. It came late in the game. He was trying to make a play, and fumbles, he's got to clean that up, but it didn't end up being a big deal. I think the most impressive part was all week long, we heard about it's going to be Jameis Winston. Then there was the surprise, Kyle, that it was Taysom. And then You look at his numbers, nothing crazy, but for everyone who thought that he couldn't throw the football, he goes 18 to 23. Should have been maybe even a little better because Michael Thomas had, a 20-ish yard drop that went right through his hands.
Right.
And there was a questionable holding penalty on a what would have been a 50-plus yard touchdown. Did you think it was holding?
Yeah, I'm okay with the call. I really am. It was one of those, like, it could have gone either way. Yeah, it could have gone either way. I mean, watching the game and hoping that Taysom did well so I could write a story about it, I was like, beautiful touchdown pass. I thought it was a beautiful throw, just right over the defender there, and would have he kind of caught it and backed his way into the end zone. So it was perfect. But I was okay with it. It was a little bit of a bummer though.
He's had several touchdown passes in his career wiped away due to penalties. I think there was one his second year against the Vikings where he hit Kamara across the middle on what looked like just a beautiful throw. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make here is, can we put to bed this notion that Taysom can't throw the football? He's clearly a better passer now than he's ever been. Is he ever going to be as good as Mahomes or Rodgers? No, he's not. But Can he throw the football enough to be a starting quarterback? Yes, and I think he displayed that today. He was very efficient, and he made a couple throws actually that was very Mahomes-esque, where he was on the run, didn't have a clean pocket, wasn't squared, and still delivered an accurate pass. I don't know if he showed enough to say, okay, definitively you're the guy going forward. But what is so exciting about his performance today is I think he cemented himself as the guy for the rest of the duration of Drew Brees' injury. Because this was a game where if he doesn't play well, it'd be very easy next week to say, hey, we gave you a shot, it didn't work out. We're going to give Jameis a shot now. But he played well enough, in fact, better than well enough, to earn that job probably going forward for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that he wasn't perfect, right? I mean, we were kind of texting back and forth during the game. We were talking about Reggie Bush at halftime, giving his analysis and saying that he had a C grade in the first half. It was ridiculous. I thought he played well. It wasn't like he was throwing the ball all over the field, but he was, in that kind of game manager mode. I think Sean Payton also just wanted to get him comfortable, right? I mean,
totally.
It's his first start. You could see he had a little bit of a, excitement, a little jitter to him there in the first half. And so getting him into the rhythm of the game was something they needed to do through those first 30 minutes. But I don't know. What do you think the end grade was for it? If Reggie thought he was a C at halftime, what do you think his performance did after getting 2 touchdowns and, really just playing an efficient game, leading the Saints in their rushing and coming out with a big win in their division as well?
I'd give him a B+, Kyle. And as for the halftime grade, I about fell out of my couch when I heard that, because I'm like, the dude's made no mistakes. And some of the clips they showed, I mean, okay, he took a sack. What do you want him to do? Turn the ball over, force the ball? It was like, that was the first drive of the game, 3rd and 1, he takes a sack. If you want to put blame anywhere on that play, put it on the coach. That should have been a power run, or at that point in the game, the first drive, hand it off to Kamara. And if you get stuffed, you get stuffed. Like, that wasn't a mistake. I wouldn't dock him for getting sacked. And I only can think of 2 plays that I think were bad plays in the first half. There was the almost interception near the goal line. That was just an ill-advised throw. And
he just didn't see the guy over the middle.
He didn't see the guy.
He was just looking towards his receiver, and
Yep.
Just miss his guy. But he'll pick up those types of things, with film study, and he's going to see more of that as
Yes.
long as he continues to start, right? Like if he's starting for another 2-3 weeks here, he's going to be a little bit more efficient. He's going to see and recognize those things because he hasn't started a football game, played these reps at quarterback with live action against him since 2016 at BYU. So it's been a while.
Yeah. So there was that play, and then the other negative play in the first half was there was a rollout where it looked like sophomore Taysom Hill, where I couldn't tell if the ball was deflected, but it was well short. Do you know what play I'm talking
Yeah.
about to Emmanuel
Yeah.
Sanders?
Yep.
That was just a bad throw. And his long ball to Sanders late in the first half wasn't a great pass as well, but it ended up working out. So
Yeah.
B minus first half and then B plus in the second half. I did think the Saints got a little too carried away with this power run late in the game, but when you go 18 to 23, you throw for over 200 yards, you have 2 rushing touchdowns. You're offensively, they were in the red zone several times. Like they probably could have scored over 30 points if they don't miss a field goal and they don't turn it over near the red zone. We're probably having a different conversation and giving him an A grade and saying, wow, this guy's a diamond in the
Yeah.
rough. And instead, we're saying, really good performance to start. Let's see how it goes from here. But a B plus in your first start, which we need to emphasize how much pressure was on him because it was a very close decision between him and Jameis. And I've already mentioned this, but it bears repeating. He doesn't play well. I wouldn't have been shocked to see them say, all right, we're going to go with Jameis and we need you doing the other things. But he played well enough to silence those critics. And I think he's going to at least get the next 2 weeks. And hey, Drew Brees has 11 fractures, Kyle. He could be out a lot longer than 2 more weeks. So we could be seeing
At this point,
Taysom Hill.
if they're winning football games, I mean they're 8-2 now. If they're winning football games, I would say just rest him get him to the playoffs. Like as long as he's healthy going into a Super Bowl run, that's all you need from Drew Brees. You don't need him to beat these. Like the Atlanta Falcons were 3-6 coming into the game. I mean, it's not like they were world beaters coming in and it was like Tampa Bay. If it was Tampa Bay, like I'd be like, okay, I understand. But now they've beaten Tampa Bay twice. They've beaten Atlanta. They have a good, cushion there in the division. And so as long as they kind of, even if they win, 500 throughout this whole stretch without Drew Brees, I think that's good enough to, cement them for what they want to do in the postseason. I did want to mention, you talked about the blemishes of his game because we talked about the positives, all of the things he did well. But the blemishes, I mean, maybe to me, like watching the game, I was more, thrilled that his fumble, that turnover was a fumble as opposed to an interception. To me, like you're also looking at the box score and you're like, oh, Taysom didn't throw any picks. Like it was a good throwing, good passing game for him. So it's kind of funny how I don't know, at least I view that. But also, that throw to Sanders, a little bit of that was the pressure from the offensive line. He didn't have a good pocket there on that play, and so he was kind of rolling out and tried to square up at the same time because we know that Taysom has, he has a cannon of an arm. He can throw a deep ball, and that one just didn't get there. So, he did have a couple of things that he didn't do well. What do you think are the, let's go with maybe 1 or 2 things that are the biggest things that he needs to improve on if he's starting next week for the Saints?
If he's starting next week, he's starting next week for the
Hey,
Saints.
I agree. He's going to start. I'm just saying, I'm not Sean Payton. I'm not making that decision. So I've got to go with the if at this point because he hasn't been named the starter.
They won the game. The game was never in doubt. The defense was dominating. And now, let's give credit where credit's due. The defense is why the Saints won the football game. But Taysom didn't do anything to jeopardize that win. And I thought that he played better than a lot of people expected him to. The biggest thing he's got to do going forward is he's got to take care of the football when he runs the ball. When you look at the passing, there was that one play where he didn't see the defender. That happens to Mahomes. That happens to Breeze. That happens to great quarterbacks where you don't see a guy. That happened one time. It didn't result in a turnover. The Saints scored on that possession. I'm not going to kill him for that, but fumbles have been a problem this year, and the Saints should continue to use him in the run game. He had 10 carries for 51 yards, I think. I'd probably only say 5 of those were designed runs. I think the other 4 or 5 carries were passing plays that there was nothing there and he took off. But when he runs the football, he can't fumble it. It's been a problem this year. So he's going to continue to run the football. He just has to do a better job of securing it when he runs.
No, I completely agree. I think that the defense was really what did this game in for the Falcons. Matt Ryan, I mean, what was he sacked like 8 times in this game? It was crazy. And then, when he did have some time, the secondary was all over their receivers. Marcus Williams, former Utah DB, he had a pick to end the first half. Have a story up on that as well as all of these Taysom Hill plays at KSLSports.com and the KSL Sports app. But I think that we're going to have a lot more Taysom Hill to talk about in the next 2 weeks. So I think we'll wrap this one up today and leave more of that discussion for not only the Yards After College podcast. I'm going to have more on Taysom Hill's performance today throughout the week on KSLSports.com and the Yards After College podcast. And I know that you and Mitch Harper are going to be talking that up on Cougar Sports Saturday.
Yep.
I know that you have a little bit to talk about as far as the game yesterday, but do you have anything as far as you want to plug for your show on Saturday coming up?
Yeah, I think obviously the college football playoff rankings will be coming out, so there'll be a lot to discuss where BYU falls, because I think where they fall, Kyle, determines how aggressive they need to be about adding another game. Now, we'll also talk about this, but San Diego State had a heartbreaking loss on the road against Nevada, where they were first and goal to win the football game and couldn't get it done. So we'll talk about that, what BYU should do schedule-wise going forward. Taysom Hill, BYU basketball as well will be something we touch on as that season gets underway. So even though there's no football for BYU this week, there's still plenty to discuss in the world of Cougar sports.
Definitely, most definitely. And you can catch all of that not only on KSL News Radio, but like I said before, the KSL Sports app and on KSLSports.com. That'll do it for me and Matt today. You can follow Matt on Twitter at Baiamonte Matt. You can follow me at Kyle Ireland. We'll be back again tomorrow with another edition of the KSL Sports Front Page at 4 p.m.